they're going to get you for putting anything over your head. Doesn't matter where you come from. Wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. Moving on now, the news that grooming gangs are using vapes to lure girls in. Girls as young as 10 years old, in fact. This comes from the Manchester Police Force. Apparently, since January, Greater Manchester's police Operation Vigilant has seen the seizure of 2,899 vapes, and a further 20,000 have been recovered by trading standards. 20 ongoing investigations, which may result in prosecutions and closures. Now, for many of us, it would be really difficult to associate vaping products with grooming gangs and children being groomed. Well, recently there's been 3 recent prosecution, and this was speaking at Manchester's HQ on the day of sentencing of these 3 men found guilty of abusing 2 girls over a number of years in the mid-2000s. Said, you might not understand where vaping comes into all of this, but when you've got kids who are interested, who are enticed by all these wonderfully different flavoured vapes, they can't legally buy them. Guess who pops up outside of shops, outside of schools, outside of places, playgrounds where kids gather together, and offers them something they think is just a vape, but it's a first step. It usually is a first step into something altogether different. Joining me now is Jane Kenyon, who's founder of a brilliant organisation called Girls Out Loud. Jane, thank you so much for joining me. As I said, people wouldn't necessarily join up the dots between illegal vaping and these products and entrapment, let's call it entrapment of young people, of young girls.
Yeah, well, the thing is, groomers and predators will use whatever they can to incentivize pulling girls into that environment. So at the moment, it's vapes because that's the cool thing. I mean, tomorrow it might be something else. Whatever they can get hold of that those young girls want and will find attractive, they will use to pull them in.
And how does it start then? There's somebody's offering something that you're not legally allowed to get. And as I said, more and more vapors have got these kiddie-like, let's call them kiddie-like flavours to them as well, which helps. But how does it start?
Well, it's very simple. You know, it starts by very subtly giving them something that they want and that they maybe can't get access to. They may have already been talking to them online. So, you know, there may have been some of that happening first. And then, like you say, they'll be waiting outside the shop. And, you know, these are vulnerable girls. These are vulnerable young girls. And the issue about vulnerability, people think vulnerability is based around, you know, poverty or, you know, oh, these are girls that have not got anything. But it's not true. Vulnerability's got nothing to do with poverty. Vulnerability is maybe, you know, like you're sad, or you're lonely, or your mum and dad are getting divorced and you don't know what to do with it, or you've been alienated by your friends. And so, you know, that can happen to any girl at any time. So vulnerability isn't necessarily what we think it is. You know, there are some girls that are groomed that come from very, very good backgrounds, got great mum and dad. It still happens. You know, so it depends where they are. And the issue with teenage girls at the moment is that they are trying to navigate a pretty brutal landscape. I mean, it's nothing like what it was like when we were kids.
No,
you know?
and of course, lockdown, I was going to say, well, the grooming, online grooming of young girls during lockdown shot through the roof, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it did, because they didn't have anything else to do, did they? So they were going online a lot more. They were taking a lot more risks. They were doing that in secret. So they were like in their bedroom or, you know, out of the way, people thinking they were doing the work online or whatever. So they took a lot more risks, got in a lot more trouble. But, you know, the predators had an absolute field day because they were much easier. And yeah, we've seen an 80% rise in grooming of young girls in the past 4 years, which started post in lockdown and has continued. It hasn't abated. It's continued.
So do these young girls, for people who are cynical about this, do they feel that they're in love? I mean, is it just, I've given you this, you owe me that, or I'll tell your parents, a bit of blackmail, send me a naughty picture, and then they have something to blackmail you with? I mean, I'm guessing all that and more.
Yeah, I suppose it's validation. It's looking for validation. So, young girls look for validation in all the wrong places, and we always have. It's just that the environment is more dangerous today. So, they're still looking. And the other thing is, once they get into this or they do it, they're so embarrassed about getting out of it. So, they probably wouldn't talk about it, or they don't want to be seen to feel stupid. So again, they won't talk about it, and they won't talk about it with their people that know them. And so what's really important is that they have a space to share it to people that aren't in that agenda, that they don't know, which is why interventionists like us are really key, because the girls will tell us, because we are not judging them, we are just holding space for them, we are listening to them, we hear them. Whereas if you've got caught up in something like that, you're not going to tell your mum, are you?
No,
You're
no.
not going to tell the teacher, because you don't want to feel stupid or embarrassed. So they have to have a channel, an avenue to talk about it. And that is generally to people that they do not know.
Which is why I love having you on from Girls Out Loud. And Jane, I'd love to have you back on the show, because we've got a great lady to whom we speak about words matter. And I think it's so important when you talk about young women and girls with words that people casually use to label them with, well, dumb, you're stupid, or you're pretty, you're this, that, and the other, and the damage. I must get you and her on the show together, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. Brilliant work that you do. Jane Kenyon there, founder of Girls Out Loud, and do Google, have a quick Google and have a look at the website if you're concerned about any young woman who might have got sucked into that cycle of exploitation, or you just want to find out more for yourself and what you can do, because they're always looking for mentors. Let me tell you what's coming up. Palestine, a Palestinian man who lost his family, but what he was doing beforehand with an amazing Israeli journalist. It's a poignant and heartbreaking story. And we'll be looking at 50 years of Home Start, how you can help somebody be supported as a parent. All of that and a lot more after this.
This is TalkTV.